Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's midday Western U.S. regional forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. We're going to start first by taking a look at this particular figure. It's not one I've shown you very often, but it's a time series starting here on the 16th and going out all the way to the end of the month, showing you the value of something called the Pacific North American pattern. We can see that here's the zero line running right down the middle, so we're going to be spending some time here as we progress through the next week in what we would call the negative phase of the Pacific North American pattern, then move back over to neutral and even at times the positive phase. Now, what does this mean? Well, this means transition. This means change. It means a changeover from the pattern that we've been in for a while into a new one. And in general, whenever you see the negative PNA pattern, that typically means that we have broader troughing across the western United States. Whenever we get into the positive PNA part of the pattern, it tends to mean more ridging in the western United States. Now, I want to just show you this because this is going to be the setup for much of what we're going to discuss in this video and I think over the foreseeable future. Because up until this point, just looking over the beginning of July this year, we've really been in this negative phase of the PNA. Now, what I talk about here is I'm just going to outline for you the general flow of the atmosphere that we've had. You notice there's been a large ridge here. We've got a lot of fires going right now in parts of Alaska, some extreme heat set earlier in the month. But across much of the western United States, when we just look overall at the average temperature anomaly, we can see that we've been on the slightly cooler than average side of things for much of this, much of this time period. Now, there's some benefits to that. I kind of listed them over here. We've had below normal potential evapotranspiration rates. We've had reduced irrigation use because of that. We have that's great for our reservoir health and reservoir volume and values here. It's also reduced our fire risk. We do have fires right now across the western United States, but it is nothing like we've seen in recent Julys and recent end of June time periods. We've had a reduction of heat stress, and we've even had at times some increased rainfall probability, specifically here coastal Oregon and Washington, and then again in parts of Idaho and Montana. Some of the issues I think with this, we have delayed the arrival of the southwestern monsoon, where we get flow that comes in like this on the heat that we typically get in summer. And also we have seen, even though I've said there's been some beneficial rain, some of these storms that have come through Montana have been quite severe at times. Okay, let me show you the big difference here though. I want to take you back, look at the dates in here. This is June 15th through July 10th of 2017. So if you want to see the opposite of this pattern, go right back to this time period. I'm probably bringing back some pretty rough memories for a lot of folks in the western United States by bringing up the June 15th to July 10th, 2017 time period. We had large high-level blocking with a deep trough here, and what that allowed to have happen was a broader trough south of the Aleutian Islands and then a huge ridge out west. And we saw extreme heat, very, very low relative humidities, and our forest fires were epic to say the least and incredibly devastating. Now, that was 2017. Look at the same time period in 2019. We've actually had a flow pattern that's done again, something like this. What a difference. And the difference was seen in the previous map. So I want you just to understand these two different types of flow patterns because we're going to monitor them throughout the rest of summer. As we progress through this week, the jet stream is really just flattening out. It's hanging out right there on the US-Canada border. And the bigger news with this is, with it flattens right into this area, it'll be this region that we're going to see quite a bit of storms. In fact, I can even lower that here into the northern U.S. But this broad ridge that's sitting right into this area, that's one of my things that we're going to be watching, because as this transitions to the west with time, that's what changes the PNA pattern. But it's going to take several days to get there, all right? To show you what I mean, right now, because that pattern is doing something a bit more like this, our heat is in the midsection of the country. So we have excessive heat warnings, watches, advisories. It's hot in the midsection of the country. We do have red flag warnings that are out here for parts of Nevada, Utah, and Arizona, and even parts of western Colorado. But overall, the west coast of the United States is kind of free of major weather advisories. As we progress forward, I think it's best to start with the upper level pattern. So I'm just going to click play and I want you to watch a few things. The transition in the pattern is going to initially begin with this trough sweeping down here into the Pacific Northwest. And then the ridge that you're going to see developing here moving in to replace it with time. So I'm just going to play this once so that you can see those two features at work here. Ready? There goes the trough into the northwest. See the ridge out east? Here it comes back out west. That is why you saw the PNA do what it's doing. And we see that by the time we get to the end of July, the ridge that was once sitting here just slowly transitions itself back to the west. So what does that mean in terms of temperature and precipitation? Well, that's what we want to discuss next. Let's begin first with our near-term temperature forecast. Right now, just looking at high temperatures on Tuesday, much of the Pacific Northwest sitting there, right about average, but slight cool bias, maybe 3, 4, 5 degrees cooler than average. Central Valley of California, we are also sitting right on average in terms of our high temperatures. So you know what that means. That's a lot of mid-90 temperatures through the Central Valley. Where it's warm is getting back over to the Four Corner States and into the desert Southwest. Clicking play, let's see where things get to by the time we get into the day on Wednesday. Still, we see that in the near term, the negative P&A keeping things cool in the northwest, so I've got you out now to Thursday. As we stretch this forward into Friday and into Saturday and Sunday, you see that for much of this upcoming week, we hang on to very close to average temperatures in California, and then in the Pacific Northwest, cooler than average. But things begin to change for the weekend, and after the Midwest and central United States and parts of the East Coast were in heat, now the pattern begins to shift. You can see that shifting pattern by early next week, returning to above average temperatures to parts of the Pacific Northwest. And we're still seeing near average temperatures in California, but that will be changing with time as well. So that's the bigger transition I want you to see. Getting you out to day 10, that's what you have over here on the left. We can start to see that by that time period, higher atmospheric pressure pushing in this area, and that's when the ridge begins to kind of make its rebound. So we go back over into much more climatologically normal temperatures here, and in parts of California, we're actually picking up not only in the day 10, but out to day 15, warmer than average conditions. So as we moderate in temperatures in the Pacific Northwest, we could be seeing parts of California actually going back over to much higher temperatures as we progress into the day 10 to day 15 time frame. Now, what does all this mean in terms of precipitation? Well, in the interim, we got a large area of higher atmospheric pressure sitting here with a front draped along the northern side of it. So that means, again, parts of Montana still a very stormy day today for you, and then big storms just pop up on the mountains here in the Four Corner States. But animating this forward, as that trough slides out of the Gulf of Alaska and toward the northwest, you're going to see it showing up right here by the time we get into Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, and evening. So bringing some scattered showers and thunderstorms to parts of the Pacific Northwest. Now, California, as very normal for this time of year, you're very dry throughout this. But I do want to talk about what's going on in the Pacific Northwest by the time we, again, get into Tuesday evening. So we're watching this area for a lot of scattered showers and thunderstorms, some of which could be severe. So we're going to keep a close eye on parts of the Snake River Valley, then getting into the mountains of Montana and out into the plains. So that's where I'm concerned about severe weather tonight. As we then get into the morning on Wednesday, the trough is now moving down into British Columbia. Look at the scattered showers that could be coming in through parts of Washington in the day, early in the morning on Wednesday. And that presses through northern Idaho and Montana throughout the day on Wednesday. So that's kind of our major precipitation features here in the near term. So just why these scattered showers and storms in the Pacific Northwest. Putting it all together, just looking over the next 10 days, we can see, as we would expect this time of year, a lot of our region on the other side of the mountains and through here looking dry. Snake River Valley overall is a drier picture with storms in through this area. California is looking dry as well. But as that main trough slides down, as we saw, it's going to be this quarter that starts off wet. And as the jet stream still screams in this area, look at the southern Canadian prairies, quite active in terms of shower and thunderstorm activity, as is the northwest flow here over the central United States. Putting it in a different perspective here, this is 15-day precipitation anomalies. We can again see those main features, right? Just right into those corridors that we get to be whiter than average. So with that as our main idea, as we progress through the month of July, we're going to be paying very close attention to where the ridge sets up. Because if it continues to build to the west, which there is a chance that it could do this, we could start to bring in some more heat. And if that pattern shifts at all such that the trough comes out here and builds into a ridge like that, we could be looking at some very high temperatures. Now, right now, that's not forecast. In fact, we see the jet stream doing something a bit more like this, keeping the ridge centered in this area. But it's just something that I want to keep a very close eye on as we progress through this month. And of course, we'll keep you updated with that every single day with our forecast, especially in my long-range forecast, which comes out tomorrow morning. So be sure to tune in and check that one out. But with that, I'll go ahead and wrap up this Western Region forecast video. We Nutrien Ag Solutions thank you for your attention. Hope you look forward to all of our content coming out this week at my.nutrienagsolutions.com. Talk to you again soon. Thank you.